Good afternoon. This is Tony Dattino doing my third part of my happiness series that is coming out of the current issue of Art Magazine. And I was tying this into some of the things I've been working on for the last bunch of years, and that it's all about happiness in hard times, which as we continue to watch our COVID-19 and the different things that are happening to us, can get to be more and more challenging as we go by day and week by week, and wonder what do we believe, what's happening, and when does it change its path. But I've been doing a four-part series. I'm doing a four-part series on it. It's been a really great article, and what I want to talk about today is, as this goes on, give up the wrong ideas about happiness. So in this article, it's interesting because I have to raise the question, how many people live their lives today and you hear, are you happy? And so when people think about, are you happy? The question becomes, well, how do we define happy? So it'd be interesting to get some feedback in my Facebook notifications. So how do you define happy? And what is happy? And do you think your brain is hardwired, as we call it, hardwired for different activities and things in our lives? Is our brain hardwired to be happy? And it's an interesting perspective on giving up the myths about happiness. And so the first thing that it talked about, which I thought was interesting, is can you predict with accuracy what are things that you can do in your life that make you happy? And I always think about people who say, well, gee, if I get this job, I'll be happy. Or if I make so much money, I'll be happy. Or if I can have this relationship in my life, I'll be happy. And what the science goes on to discuss and discover is we are poor predictors of exactly what will make us happy and keep us there in a joyous way where we feel that we're at our best on an ongoing basis. So to the sense that we're terrible at predicting happiness, it brings us to another myth. Can you measure your happiness within yourself and what you set as your own objectives and standards of what gives you that bubbly feeling, what gives you that joy inside? One being helping others is certainly one, but are we comparing ourselves to our friends, our relatives? So-and-so got this job and I have to do one better, or otherwise I'm not going to be as happy as they are. Look at how happy. I can't tell you how many people I've said, wow, look, they look like they're the happy family. Well, that's from the outside looking in. But until you get in and you realize, well, maybe not. So this notion of we measure happiness by how we compare to others it's doomed to fail. And so what we want to be doing is looking at happiness as it reflects on our own lives and how we make our own gains and progresses and what gives us happiness from within ourselves. And it's not something you get from the outside and things that come to you. It's an intrinsic feeling that we talk about. What we are naturally wired for is survival. So what's most important to us is, are we going to survive, and how do we survive? And therefore, we're focused on how do we find problems and bring solutions to those problems. So when you think about what we're wired to do, we're more focused on how do we deal with trouble in our lives. It's the fight or flight response, right? When you think of the hardwiring of the brain, fight or flight, we're hardwired to deal with challenges that come at us, threats that come at us, and how we're going to respond to those in a way that keeps us alive. And so we step back and think about these things. First of all, can we predict what makes us happy? Second of all, are we comparing our happiness based on what we see outside of others? And third of all, what are we hardwired to really just innately develop and do that we need to rethink about and just reposition our own standards and what we call our own norms. So those were some of the things that, as I reflect on this thing called happiness, okay, now what do? Well, one of the things that in this article that was interesting is I've been talking about this in my Live with Tony broadcast for months. And we talk about it over and over again in our Brain Power series and in our Maximum Memory Mastery online course. So in the Maximum Memory Mastery online course, we've been talking about it today, yesterday. We call it Maximum Memory Mastery, but it's really a brain power series of modules that teach people the elements of, so how do you maintain strong brain health? What are some of the activities that you can engage in and do? And one of them that consistently, it's just been now written about over and over again, is how do we connect? How do we connect to other people? And we're socially hardwired to be social beings. And what I love about the Maximum Memory online course, and we get a lot of good feedback, are the tips that are within it on how do you remember names and faces of people. And so there are different techniques of how do you remember a name and a face of people that you're meeting so that you begin to build connectivity and social interaction, which over and over and over again are being proven to be the skills or the activities that we can engage in that maintain strong lifetime brain health. And in my broadcast over the last month, I keep alerting people to the fact of isolation and loneliness as it impacts people who are being quarantined in the COVID-19 era. That really is testing, do we really need to be hardwired to be connecting to people? And it's not a matter of how many people do you know or how many friends do you have. So it's not the number of people that you have as friends. It's do you have a handful? So again, a few weeks ago I did a broadcast on it's not the number of friends that you need to have, it's the quality of those friends, and can you sit down and have a venting and a conversation with them that has trust and confidence and compassion and empathy that builds a camaraderie and a support network around yourself. So that's one of the things we talk about in the myths of happiness. What are some of the things that you may do that help keep you at a level pace and then elevate you? So the friends that you've got and your social interactions. The second one is physical activity. And boy, we've been talking about that is being physically engaged and active. So gardening can be one. When you go out, now we're missing the malls right now, so going out shopping is one that I hear people to playing golf, tennis, swimming. We're struggling with losing some of those physical activities. But again, I've done a recent broadcast on here are some of the things you can do within your house using your water jugs and using the things that you've got within your own house on how you can stay engaged physically, walking up and down steps, putting something with a base, a brick or something that you can step up and down and just go up and down, doing jumping jacks. So in this, giving up the wrong ideas of happiness, so stay connected, got it. Stay physically active, got it. And then the third thing you can do is find the positive of things. And I talk about in my book the importance of your gig, which is good in and good will grow. So how do we find moments of our day that are in the positive mode of what is something that was pleasant, and maybe something one of the kids did, something you saw on television that was pleasant and brought back memories of a good time. We've talked about music and listening to different kinds of music. And so to that degree, these are at least three things that you can do that help you to stay at a level of activity that builds it. So what I'll ask you and talk to now is, so how many friends do you have that you really can step back and talk with and confide in, and maybe they hear you and they're empathetic, they can feel with you, and maybe even give you a suggestion or idea. So how many people are in your life that you can do that with and feel good about it after you're done? And even in social distancing, who can you go sit with and talk with and walk away feeling better about the experience? Number two, what activities are you engaged in, be it in the gardening in your around your area? If you're in an apartment, can you go find a corridor and just go up and down some steps or things, and take a walk somewhere in a park that's not overly crowded and things like that, keeping your mask on during some difficult times, but finding some ways of doing that. And then go look for something in your day, and maybe you have to be more mindful, because depending upon where the pendulum swings, you can just feel so down and depressed and isolated and disconnected. But here's an experience in this COVID world today where we're all dealing with it to some level, and some people are handling it much more challenging than others, others looking at it in what are we going to learn from this mode. So find something about what your day is and what your week has been, and just pace yourself out to finding something that's good. Now, I promised you yesterday, so those are my tips for today, but I promised yesterday we were going to go through some more songs. So what we talked about yesterday is, what are some songs that bring hope and happiness to you? And so we stopped off of yesterday, Beautiful Day, Don't Stop, The River of Dreams, What a Wonderful World, and today I'll give you a few more. Don't Stop Believing, and that's by Journey. So Don't Stop Believing. Come Out of the Dark. Does anybody know who sang Come Out of the Dark? And if you've said Gloria Estefan, you're absolutely correct. This is a group I do not know, Walking on Sunshine by Katrina and the Waves. I don't know who Katrina and the Waves are, but maybe that's because I'm whatever. Walking on Sunshine. And then Three Little Birds by Bob Marley and the Wailers. So there's a few more songs for you to think about. And what I said to my audience yesterday was, hey, what are some songs that bring a level of hope and happiness into your life? And maybe you can share those with us on our post and notifications on Facebook Live, and we can get other people maybe share in what their happy songs are that give them. So today is Thursday. I do not do a Live with Tony on Friday. We're back on Saturday afternoon in the 3 o'clock time period. So stay safe. Keep your mask on when you're out in social areas. Keep your hands away from your face for sure. Keep washing your hands. And just, we are going to get through this. Be smart about it. We want to get everybody through this. We're learning more and more every day. And as somebody said to me yesterday, the bad news about this is we're making it up as we go along, because we've never had, at least in my lifetime, we haven't had an experience like this in our lifetime. And so we are making it up. We got to respect the diversity of our leaders and the differences that they're having, and the disagreements even in the science world, but we all need to get through this and get to the other side. So stay well and safe, and we'll see you on Saturday afternoon with my next Live with Tony, where I will conclude on the fourth part of our series about how do we deal with happiness in hard times.